So we've got three witnesses here. We've got the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place where it ought not. Okay, that's Matthew and Mark. Okay, Luke chapter 21 verse 20. Okay, this is big because Luke 21:20 says, "And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed, surrounded with armies." That word armies is a big deal. And we all know that right now Jerusalem is surrounded by armies, ISIS and all this other stuff. Excuse me. But that word armies, okay, when you think about armies, we think about flesh and blood armies. But we have to remember that our wrestle is not against flesh and blood. Okay? So we have to really keep that in mind here. So the abomination of desolation is standing in the holy place where it ought not. Luke says that these are armies. Okay, let's just hold on to that word for now, armies, because this is where it gets really crazy. So if you go to Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, this is where the concordance really comes in handy. So I'm just going to read it straight out of the concordance. But actually, well, you know what, before we do that, let's read what Daniel says. Okay, I'm just going to read the latter half of this verse. And this is where it's talking about that abomination of desolation taking place. Well, I can read the whole verse. "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst," and we're going to find out who that he is. "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate." Okay, that's what's being quoted here. "And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate." Take note, please, that this word overspreading, this is the only time in the entire Word of God, in this canon, where this word overspreading is used. It's used one time, and it's used in this verse. Like I said, this is where it gets pretty crazy. So I'm going to look up the word overspreading. T-U-V-W. I don't know my ABCs. Okay, overspreading. Okay, overspreading. Daniel 9:27. Hebrew number 3671. So when we go to Hebrew 3671, alright, Hebrew 3671. From 3670, so it's got a root word to it. It says an edge or extremity, specifically of a bird or army. Okay, a bird or army. That's kind of weird, right? But see, here's where it gets crazy. Like I said, what do birds do? They fly. Okay, these birds fly. Okay. So from 3670, and by the way, the root word of this, kanaf, 3670, is the root, and it properly means to project laterally. To project laterally. Not horizontally up and down, but laterally. Okay, so, and that's kind of what flying is, right? I mean, I understand things fly up, but they also fly laterally, and it's being projected. It's projected. So this bird or army, an edge or extremity specifically of a bird or army, which is a wing. Okay, I'm reading this straight out of the concordance. Okay, of a garment, we know it's not of a garment or bed clothing that it's talking about, which would be a flap. An edge or extremity of the earth, which would be a quarter, We know that's not what it's talking about of a building. We know that's not what it's talking about here. So a lot of these meanings we can kind of put away, but it has bird and army together. Okay, birds fly. Okay, real quick before I go any further, Satan's objective, as everybody knows, is he said in his heart, I will be like the Most High. He wants to be worshipped. He wants to be God. Everybody's heard of the Antichrist. Everybody's heard of the Antichrist. And we're going to see it in the scriptures as we go forth, but he is going to, as 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 says, he's going to be standing in the temple of God, claiming to be God, showing himself that he is God. Okay? So with that, and we're not talking about F-14s here. We're not talking about F-16s or anything like that, because all these flying planes and stuff have been around for a while. These planes that launch missiles and all this other stuff do not present themselves as God. Okay? They're just really, in the grand scheme of things and considering what's coming, they're very minor and pretty irrelevant. Some other uses for this word overspreading are bird, feather, feathered, flying, flying plus one another, meaning a group of flying armies. Okay? Winged is another one. This is under 3671, overspreading. Okay, so we can pretty much get the idea here that the word overspreading kind of implies something that's flying, or maybe on the wings of a flying army, let's say. So, and by the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate. So abominations. Abominations is pretty simple. You look it up in the concordance, and it's Hebrew number 8251, and it means disgusting. It means filthy. It means especially idolatrous. An idol is something that takes the place of God. A god, a false god. Okay, so let's say an army on the wings of a flying army, these false gods, filthy and disgusting gods, false gods, idols. Okay? And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate. Let's look up the word desolate here. The Hebrew word desolate is Hebrew number 8074, 8074. I'm gonna read this one out of here too, because you guys, this is crazy. And like I said, this was the first revelation the Lord gave me. Why? I don't know. The Lord, he puts things on us as we need them, and he is God, and he knows us better than anybody, and for whatever reason, and it's kind of a small part of my testimony, really, but 8074. Alright. Okay, a primitive root. You ready for this? Okay, on the wings of a flying army, made up of filthy, disgusting idols, false gods, something that claims to be God, okay, or that takes the place of God in your life. Okay, to this word 8074, desolate, he shall make it desolate, means to stun. Okay, and to grow numb, to devastate, to stupefy, make amazed, be astonished, astonishment. Okay, desolate, be destitute, destroy, waste, wonder. Okay, so a lot of these words talk about shock and stun and astonishment, to make wonder. Okay, it says that with that being said, let's go to Matthew 24, and we'll pick this up in the next part.